You're listening to The Grip, where we take hold of mindset and martial arts. Now, let's get started. Today's episode is going to be a powerful one, not just because of the accolades, but because of the impact these two women are making. First, we have Mendi Carlson. She's a brown belt, a 3-time Master World Champion, and a 2-time double gold no-gi world champion. But her excellence doesn't stop there. She's a wife and a mother of 3, the president of a women-owned construction company, and she plays a major role in organizing charitable and athletic events in her community. She embodies what it looks like to pursue elite performance while leading in business, family, and service. Joining her is Kari Summers. Currently in her 3rd year as a black belt and a 10-year veteran of Brazilian Jiu Jitsu. Kari has won no-gi worlds at brown belt and captured master worlds at purple, brown, and black belt, a rare level of sustained dominance. Her longevity, consistency, and championship mindset speak volumes about her dedication to the art. Together, Mendi and Kari train and coach under Genesis Jiu Jitsu, and they are founders of Unbreakable Jiu Jitsu, an initiative focused on growing and strengthening the women's community within the sport. They're not just champions. They're builders of culture, opportunity, leadership, and resilience. Today, we're diving into competition at the highest levels, balancing motherhood and business with elite training, and what it truly means to create an unbreakable mindset, on and off the mats. So, without further ado, let's get into it.
Thank you for having us.
Yes.
Yeah, we're excited to be here.
Yes. So, we're going to just dive right into it, okay? So, for both of you, if you want to take a moment and just take us back to the beginning, and how did each of you first find Brazilian Jiu Jitsu?
Okay, well, I started jiu-jitsu after my kids did it for 2 years first. Their dad was hoping, I have 2 boys and 2 girls, so boy, girl. And so my second child, she's 20 now, but when she was like 8, her dad was hoping she was going to be the, next Ronda Rousey. So he saw like a jiu-jitsu gym and, took the kids in and signed them up, and I took them to class all the time. So my kids started first. I watched them. I had a 1-year-old, and then the other kids were 6, 8, and 9. And I watched for 2 years, and Karen Baines, our professor, was their coach, and she kept telling me I should try it. And I talk about that I wasn't sure if I could handle all the touching. Some of the people would tell me about what it was like with the touching, and I was like, oh, I just don't think I can do that. And I didn't really like jujitsu at first, seeing my kids do it and just feeling like, who are these people that are touching my children? And, my kids are getting smashed, and I wasn't a huge fan at first, but then, the more I was there and watched it, I was challenged by seeing my kids be challenged and the things that they went through. And, my daughter, she's not the next Ronda Rousey, unfortunately, but she was doing a Naga tournament. And there was back then where you could just ask to be put in another bracket. And so she just kept putting herself in all these boys brackets where she was getting beat, but she kept doing it and kept challenging herself. And after that, I thought, okay, I got to try. I got to give this a try. And I texted Karen and I said, okay, I'll try it. I don't know how I feel about the touching. And Karen said, we'll just put you with the women and teens to begin with, which, the teens at that point were these like phenomenal, big, strong teen boys. So I don't know that was easier. But I started in my first class. I started like December 20th because I didn't want it to be a New Year's resolution thing. So I started within 2 weeks of my daughter's Naga tournament, and I really liked it. It was so fun. It was fun to roll, and I loved it. And so then I just started training all the time. And then, I left my husband and I didn't have a job. And so I didn't have any way to pay for jujitsu. And I wanted my kids to still train and I wanted to train. So Karen initially gave me opportunity to just earn our membership. At first, I was really just a body. I didn't know what to do, and I would just kind of I was there to help her because she didn't have anybody else. And so I initially, I pretty much was helping coach classes as soon as I started jujitsu, because that's how I earned it for, well, so I started coaching it right away and learning how to coach as I was learning how to do jujitsu, and then I liked it so much it became my job. And I didn't have any sort of career when I was trying to make money. It was just like cleaning houses and mowing lawns and odd jobs. And so I would work all day doing all these manual labor jobs, and then I would coach jujitsu at night and train at night. And my kids grew up at jujitsu. The youngest is 13 now. She's been around jujitsu since she was 1. Started training when she was 4. She doesn't really know life without jujitsu. It's
Yeah.
all she's ever known. But so that I started because of my kids, and just I've it's a great escape. It's a great chance to just focus on the person in front of you and not worry about anything else. And I just, once I started, I have not ever wanted to stop.
Yeah. That's great.
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
Okay, over to you, Mindy. So, how did jujitsu come into your life?
Much in the same way. My husband, I did not have the next Ronda Rousey either, but I have 3 kids and my 2 youngest are boys, and my husband wanted them to get into jujitsu. And so he signed them up for class and I watched them for 2 years. I thought, wow, that looks like a lot of fun, but really hard. And I think the first year I thought maybe I would want to start it, but I didn't want to quit. And I wasn't, I heard everything about people quitting jujitsu and I didn't want to start unless I was sure I wouldn't stop. And so the second year I kind of was like, okay, I need to think about doing this. And I work out with Carrie at a CrossFit gym. So we became friends that way. And she was also coaching my kids. And so, I had Karen and I had all these ladies around that were doing jujitsu. And started by coming to Carrie's women's only open mat that's free every week. So I showed up with my daughter who's 20 now and she wanted to try it. So we came and I never stopped.
That's amazing. Do you guys remember, was there a moment where you realized like, okay, I'm really going to stick with this? Or was it more of, I know as soon as I get in there, day one, you guys were locked in?
I initially just wanted to see if I could do it. I didn't even know if I could handle it, if I'd be able to do it. And so when I first started, I just wanted to see if I could do it. I didn't really think about someday getting my black belt. I didn't think about winning world championships. I just wanted to see if I could handle it. And then once
Mhm.
I started doing it, I really liked it and wanted to keep doing it. And still then I didn't I would not have thought I'd be where I am now
Yeah.
of, full-time coaching jujitsu. Like I just I liked it. And so I was doing it. And then Karen had somebody visiting from Brazil and we rolled, and then he and Karen talked and Karen said that, and I'm sure it was a blue belt, but she said someday I was going to be a world champion. And that had not I had never thought about that. I just
Mhm.
was doing jujitsu. And so having someone say that to you, then you kind of go, okay, well, I guess I should look to do that.
Yeah.
And so, I did Master Worlds at Blue Belt and I didn't win, but I mean, I won one fight like 2 years in a row, but then finally at Purple Belt, I won Master Worlds and started to think maybe I'm actually good at this.
Yeah.
Blue Belt's so hard. At Blue Belt, I kept saying I was waiting for my breakthrough. I was waiting for it to make sense. I did compete I competed 5 months into jiu-jitsu. I started competing, but my kids were competing because just our gym people compete. It's what they do. And so my kids were competing and wanted me compete with them. So I started competing right away. And at white belt, I won a lot. I was aggressive and athletic, but then I got to blue belt and athleticism doesn't win anymore. And so I lost a lot at blue and wondered if I was ever going to come together. But then at purple, it finally did. I don't know. At some point, somebody talked about female black belts being unicorns. And I remember thinking, I want to be a unicorn. I want that. And so then, that was, uh, then if I want it, I'm going to do it.
Absolutely. Good.
Yeah. So sorry, you're.
No, I mean, I liked it right away. And so it was something that I wanted to do. And I knew like it would take a couple of years to get a blue belt and that I didn't want to quit. So that was the immediate goal. But at about 6 months in, I decided I was gonna compete. Well, I knew I was gonna compete the whole time, but I set a goal like I'm gonna do Naga. It's my first tournament. And so instead of doing 2 days a week, I'm gonna do 3 days a week. And it became this like I don't want to forget. I felt like the more I retained more the more I trained. And so I didn't want to miss. And we talk about all the time, like, you don't want people to learn without you. Like they're learning stuff and you're at home. And so, I just never stopped. Like I started doing it more to prepare for a competition and I never stopped. And I love to compete. It's a great challenge, but yeah, I mean, I told you I didn't really want to start until I knew I wouldn't stop.
Yeah. Yeah. And speaking of challenges, what were some of the biggest challenges that you guys faced early on in your training, let's say? Whether it be mental, physical, just adapting.
It is a long time ago. Well, as far as white belt, and I talk about it a lot, the things that I say to ladies about, you're not a burden and it's okay to not know what you're doing. And so at the beginning, just feeling really insecure about, am I holding my partner back? Am I bothering whoever I'm with? Karen is the professor at Genesis Azle. So she was always there, but a lot of times it would just be men, Karen, and myself. And so then, that finding a partner where you watch all the men pair off and you go, who's gonna pick me, and just dealing with that and just accepting that you were gonna have to ask somebody to be your partner and feel like maybe they don't want you because you're a woman. And so that was hard.
Mm-hmm.
I think for me, it's a lot of it was retention, feeling like I was getting so much information, like drinking out of a fire hydrant, like, and feeling like I was receiving it and understanding to a certain point and not being able to make my body do the thing. Like, and so I remember at about, I guess probably about 6 months in, I could start recognizing things and I wouldn't recognize it in time. It would pass me by, but it became more about I could at least recognize what was happening. The difference for me is that Carrie had already started this ladies open mat. And so I kind of think I always had women to train with, So
Yeah, it's a lot of it is she's always had me. We were friends before she started jujitsu, and so then we became better friends in jujitsu. So it is kind of it's different for you because I was always there. And we had other ladies because you would train in the morning with Amy, or there was more women training when Mendi started.
Yeah. And I think about, and I know this sounds just silly, but I even think about just some of the simplest terms. I had no idea. So something like so essential, like side control. And I'm like, does it matter what side? What is that? Like just even that position, I was like, I don't know what side control is. I don't know what mount is. I don't know what guard is. And so I would get even those so confused and mixed up from the start. I'm curious because your guys' kids were going to it for a while before you guys started. Did you get familiar with those terms just by sitting and watching and hearing the coaches?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
I think we both progressed. faster than other people because for me, I'd watched it for 2 years
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
heard it being taught for 2 years. And
Yeah.
so I really understood I knew all the terms. Like I
Mhm.
already knew the glossary of things.
Yeah.
And my kids knew everything. So if I always talk about my first tournament, my oldest son, he was 11 and he showed me how to do an S mount armbar before the tournament and I went and did it. I got it. And it was
Thanks,
just,
coach.
yeah, it was funny. So,
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely think watching your kids do it, getting familiar with the goals of the positions, what's happening, what's winning or losing. Because, you think about it, like if you've never seen it before, people don't know what's happening. It's not a very
Yeah.
interesting sport to watch if you
Yeah.
don't understand it, for
Right.
sure. But I feel like, yeah, watching my kids gave me like a primer. Like I got kind of a shortcut to a
Yes.
lot of it, for sure.
And speaking of your families, how did they respond when you first started in training? Whether it be your kids, your parents, maybe friends, whatever. What were some of the responses, I guess, back in the day?
My kids immediately thought I was, like, more legit, like,
mm.
because, I've done sports my whole life, and I have strategy and all that, and so I would try to help them. They're like, "No, no, no, you don't know what you're talking about." But, like, a month into training, my sons were doing a tournament, and my youngest was like, "Mom, there's a warm-up mat over there. Come warm me up." And I'm like, "A month in." I'm like, "Alright." My I lost my mom before I started jujitsu, but I can imagine that she would not be super excited about it because she couldn't even watch me run track. Like, when I would run hurdles, she thought I was gonna fall and get hurt, so a combat sport, would not be her thing. My dad has, like, watched some of my super fights, and he went to Master Worlds with me my first year at blue belt, and so he's like, "You're doing a good job," and he calls me a champion, and he's like, "But I don't know. I don't, like, particularly like watching you fight people," so but my husband's really supportive, and I asked him before I started, I was like, "Hey, are you alright with this?" And he was like, "Sure."
That's great.
Yeah.
My kids were so thrilled when I started. They really loved it, which I wish they loved it as much now. But
Yeah.
because they're older now and they see it differently, but they were so excited. They loved
Yeah.
especially because they knew more than me. And so they could like, they were 11, 10, 8 years old and they all knew more than me. And I have some really fun pictures of rolling with the 8-year-old when I was a white belt and they really loved having me doing on the mat with them. And um my mom's a super tough lady. She's, I could tell stories for days about my mom. She's 79 and works out 5 days a week. And she's actually, there's a jujitsu class for older adults at Genesis Azle, and my mom goes to that. So my mom,
Love that.
she gets, she's got a mean arm drag, I'll tell you what. And so, she's really supportive and loves it. She went with me to one of my tournaments and she videoed and you can hear in the background like, "Come on, Carrie, let's go, Carrie." And actually she helped me warm up. She helped me like pummel and
I
so
love
she
that.
she likes it. If my dad passed away before I started jujitsu, but he used to wrestle and I think he would have really liked that I do it. So
It's amazing. Well, I'm glad you guys have such a good support system. So I know, Carrie, you kind of brought up overcoming the mentality of, not being a burden. What are some other unique challenges that you guys think women face when entering the sport?
Well, I think it's changing because there's so many more women training every day now. It's growing a lot on the female side, but a lot of women, when they imagine going into a gym, they don't know that there are going to be women there, and there's still thousands of gyms where there's only one woman, if any, that train, and so going into a room full of people that don't look like you, that have maybe a different goal even, like, if you're walking into an MMA gym, these guys are training, it's like, where is someone like me gonna fit into that scheme? Like, I'm 40 something years old and I'm a professional, like I have a career, and so am I gonna train with the 20-year-old guys that, do MMA for a living? No, I don't know. So I think that's probably the initial, challenge to come onto the mats at all,
Mm-hmm.
not knowing what to expect when you get there.
Mm-hmm.
I can't imagine for women that just show up to try a class because, we had the advantage of we had already been in there because we watched our kids and we knew Karen and we were familiar with the space. For our women that just looked it up online and showed up for a class, I'm always have a lot of respect for them to do that. And
Mm-hmm.
so it is really intimidating. And it's there's so much you just don't know at
Mm-hmm.
all. I used to skydive, so it reminds me of skydiving. My first time I jumped, it's just so overwhelming because it's so unfamiliar. Everything's, it's loud and fast and you can't even remember any of it. And it feels like you think about the first time someone comes into a jujitsu gym and it's like, all right, come watch what we're doing. Now go practice it with someone you've never met. And then you're going to lay on top of them or they're on top of you.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're supposed to let them do the move, but don't be too noodly. And I mean, and you don't
Mhm.
even know that. Like it's just so much. And
Yeah.
Sensory overload for
oh,
sure.
yeah. And so I can't imagine. And, for the men, I think for men, they show up and they're still just, okay, I'm here to train and I want to learn how to do this and this is for me. For
Mm-hmm.
women, it is this, yes, they want to do it for them, but then they're told to do this move and they don't know how to do it and someone has to explain it to them and somebody has to help them and to be able to know it's it's okay to be new. I mean, the number of times people walk in and they say, "Hey, I'm brand new and I've never done this before." And I say, "Yeah, brand new usually means you've never done it before." And it's okay. Like
Yeah.
and I think for men, they walk in and everybody's they're still all a bunch of men and maybe it's not as intimidating, but for women, there may not be any women in the room and the men just don't necessarily understand, which is okay, but it is like that's something that I'm grateful for as female coaches is because when I'm watching women drill and someone new and they keep apologizing, I
Mm-hmm.
can oh they're feeling they're feeling comfortable because they're afraid that they're frustrating their partner or they're afraid and having to the things you have to say of like, okay, you can put more weight on them. You're not going to hurt them. This is what you're supposed to do.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of fears that women have to overcome. And if they don't have somebody telling them
Mm-hmm.
it's normal fears and that they're okay, it's hard. So it makes it where you wonder how many women quit at the beginning because they just, feel so insecure about it.
Well,
Yeah.
and just the reassurance, that it's okay. Like it's okay to be new. It's okay to put your weight on somebody,
Yeah.
to not know what you're doing, that you feel like when you walk in that everybody knows more than you. So
Mm-hmm.
then you feel like you're holding people back.
Yep.
And so this whole narrative that you're playing in your head, well, we all felt that too. But if you don't vocalize it to them, then they
Yeah.
think they're the only one. They feel isolated.
Yeah.
Well, and so you have to overcome the mental and then the physical too.
Right. Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And we obviously need either coaches that are providing that reassurance and then just a space that can provide that reassurance. Is there anything
Mhm.
else that you think gyms could do better or are currently doing better to make women feel welcome and supported? Because clearly some places are doing it right because you're right, Mindy. The female population within jiu-jitsu is skyrocketing, which is great to see. So what do you think is causing that or how can we continue to facilitate that?
I think something as simple as having a women's locker room, even if you don't have any women at your gym, be ready for them, especially now, right? Be ready. Not a closet in the back, like, oh well, this is the men's locker room, but you can change back there. Or, it's like being ready. Like we are welcoming to women.
Mm.
I think that's a big one. And I think having a lady, like if you have a woman that's a colored belt, having like a women's open mat or a women's only class, because I do co-ed training. I have some of my favorite training partners are men. And I coach a ladies only class, but I started with women only. It kind of took down a lot of these things that
Mhm.
would have hindered me otherwise. It's like it eases the women into a sport that's already difficult.
Hmm.
And then they get acclimated and then they're out into the general population usually. But it's great. It's great to have a place for women to enter into the sport.
Hmm.
Yeah, I think ladies only classes are it because there's fewer discomforts. Everybody looks like you. You have female coach that can say the things you need to hear and take away some of the discomfort. So then you can actually start to realize how great it is and really learn to fall in love with it like we did because you're not having to just deal with the fact that you have a really sweaty man, like touching you.
What do you guys think are some common misconceptions people have about women training jujitsu?
I guess some of the things that I have heard personally about like having a ladies only class is that it makes the women softer or they're not able to train well enough unless they train with men also, and that they should come to all the adult classes regardless of if there's any women there. But Carrie teaches co-ed classes 5 days a week. And I've seen, because the men aren't always punctual, they roll up and there's more women there to begin with, and they're not really sure they want to stay. So it's like the tables have turned. They're like,
Mm-hmm.
"Oh, is this a ladies class? No, all the men are just late." But they don't want to be the only man in this class.
Mm.
So they're not sure they want to stay. And so I
Yeah.
think I think it's changing, like men are starting to see it differently, but I will say that I get the most realistic hard rolls from women because they aren't holding anything back, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Men are trying to not be too heavy and they're not trying to smash you, and they're just kind of letting you play or whatever. But, when I roll with a woman, I know I'm going to get 100% of all of it. So,
Yeah.
And I'm thankful for the men that they are more careful with us and they don't put all their weight or use all their strength. But it is when you roll with a woman who's the same size as you, especially if they're an upper belt, they don't need to hold back on the size because
Mm-hmm.
they're the same. And so then they can really work the technique and you have to see you find out what really works when it's
Yeah.
somebody your own size and they're going, they're challenging you.
Yeah. Yeah. One thing that I feel like I was concerned with, I think perception wise, is that I was going to be less feminine going into
Mhm.
this sport. And granted, you guys had experience with CrossFit, but it's kind of the same thing. There are these roles and activities that provide strength, right? And I think
Uh-huh.
nowadays it's amazing because strength is beautiful. And I think there's like something powerful about that. And it's not as much of a concern, I hope, anymore. And I do think that that was something where I quickly learned I was like, oh no, my confidence improved, my just a sureness. I think my athleticism, my body, changed too. And I think there was just so much growth within that. But I do think that was one of the misconceptions I think I had. And of course, I still did it. But yeah, I think sometimes for some of these really girly girls that think that this is this big macho activity, it's like, no, sister, we can have any type of woman across the spectrum can fit into a jujitsu community, which I think is pretty fun, you know?
yeah, I think you can really customize your training based on what your goals are, and we have all kinds of ladies that come into the gym, and I think I'm a girly girl, but I like to fight. So
Yeah. Yeah. And it's beautiful, damn it.
yeah. Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
Very good.
I think for us, we're both athletes throughout school, so we like to do athletic things, and we did
Yeah.
like to work out, and so jujitsu is a great way to to get in shape, and it's a lot more fun than working out. And you
Yeah.
train for 2 hours and you don't even realize how much work you've put in that time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, yeah, so let's kind of transition into competition because both of you guys have incredible competitive resumes at this point. And you already explained what originally drew you into competition. It sounds like you got started and then within months you guys were ready for that competition, which is cool. So what lessons has competition taught you that maybe everyday training can't?
One big lesson competition was facing my mistakes and addressing them, because in training, just regular class, you make mistakes, but you don't have to really face them or deal with them if you don't want to. You can just walk away and go, "Oh, they were just better than me," or "That was just a hard roll," and you don't necessarily have to face it. In competition, the turning point for me where I got better was when I watched my videos, evaluated my mistakes, and fixed them. So competition made me face the mistakes I was making, and accept that and not make excuses for it and figure out how to fix it.
Yeah, for me, I think just learning to train my mind to not be overwhelmed with everything that comes along with a competition, the nerves and the atmosphere and the expectations and all those things, and just go out and perform at the best that I can. I think that jujitsu has helped me with that more than any other sport because it is an individual sport.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times, you go out and play. I played soccer in college. It's like you can blame, there's 10 other people on the field you can blame,
Mhm.
but you have to really deal with yourself with jujitsu. And so I love putting myself in a different atmosphere to perform than in the training room. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
and Mendi, and I know your mantra already, but can you share what your kind of biggest slogan that you tell yourself when you are in this headspace of you're going into competition day? What's something very short and sweet and simple that you tell yourself?
I'm so excited
Yeah, I'm excited.
And why do you tell yourself that?
because it is the same feeling as being nervous, physiologically. And so I have to tell my mind that those feelings that I'm feeling are excitement instead of nervousness, because nervousness equals fear and
Mhm.
excitement is excitement. And
Yeah,
so I need to tell myself that my body is preparing me for what I'm about to do.
yeah.
And I'm excited about it.
And we use it throughout. It is something we use not even in just in competition. Anytime we have something hard, it's, oh, I'm so excited
Yes.
to deal with that.
I got to make a phone call today. I'm so excited about it.
Yes. No, I know. And I had heard you say this over another podcast that you were on, but I also heard you kind of explain this when you guys were doing your seminar. And both of the times I just kind of giggled to myself, but you can't imagine how many times that has also came back up in my head, even today. I mean, I get nervous still every time I go to record an episode or have a conversation with somebody. And I've now just started because I can, start feeling myself get all sweaty palms and all the things. And I'm like, I'm excited. This is a good thing, This is challenging but good and exciting. So
Good.
I think it's great. Yeah. Okay. So maybe records haven't been perfect. So how have you guys dealt with losses or setbacks, whether it be in competition? Um yeah, let's just strictly talk about competition since that is kind of, as Carrie
Yeah.
explained it, the spotlight is a lot brighter when you guys are going into those days versus just the everyday training.
Okay. Well, so yeah, part of what my story is a lot like Carrie's. Like I've always been athletic, and when I started jujitsu and I knew I wanted to compete, I went out and did my first competition. And my very first match, I was doing things right, and I made mistakes and I lost. And so I was able to come back my next match and win. And I never lost another match at white belt. And so and then I got my blue belt. So I came into blue belt feeling pretty invincible, and hey, guess what? I was not invincible. I went out and won my first match at Master Worlds at my first match at Blue Belt was at Master Worlds, and I won my first and I lost my second. And so I ended up in third place. And I wanted to win, and it really, like, I remember coming back and telling Carrie I was sorry I lost, and she was like, "I don't care. I love you. Like, I'm so proud of you. You did a good job."
Mhm.
And so that was just realizing, like, you have people around you that love you and your value isn't in the outcome, especially I like to compete. And so part of liking to compete is winning. Like, it's fun. It definitely is more fun to win than lose. Like, I don't know. People they cannot convince me otherwise.
Yeah.
But I will say losing forces me to face my problems and deal with them in the same way that I have goals that I set, and I set little mini goals to get to that. Losing is the same way. Like,
Mhm.
here's a problem, let's solve it. And so working on things, finding holes, like, those are the things that have really shaped my game more
Mhm.
than the wins, because I can go and win and never look at my match again. And I'm sure there are a lot of mistakes, but I'm not forced to deal with it. And so, even my second time competing at Blue Belt, I went and just did a little in-house tournament, and they asked me to compete against a white belt that was bigger than me. And I was like, I mean, I'm a blue belt. And I lost. Like, I lost to a white belt at a tournament. Like,
Mhm.
and I remember sitting and thinking, I have to decide, do I love jujitsu whether I win or lose? Do I like to do it for what it gives me regardless of the outcome of a competition? And I decided that I did, and I dealt with my problems, like not getting an underhook and all the things that were super important, um, that I think I would have just kind of glazed over if it hadn't been in a competition.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so, yeah, learning to be happy with the process regardless of the outcome has
Yeah.
been a major thing for me.
And at blue belt, I won a lot at white belt, and at blue belt, I lost a lot, competed a lot. And I remember one day getting ready to go back to the gym after losing, and I thought to myself, I don't have to win to love jujitsu and show up to class. Like, I'm not going to walk in and have somebody say, "Oh no, you can't be here because you lost a tournament."
Right.
And I had to tell myself, you don't have to be a winner to just train. I've said, I mean, you really don't have to be good at this to keep showing up. Nobody's going to
Mhm.
tell you can't be there.
Mm.
Mhm.
And realizing in that when you lose, nobody's disappointed in you. No, if well, and she was talking about, when we win, the guys at the gym give us a harder time than when we lose. You know,
Yeah, our 6 a.m. class is a lot of really good jujitsu, but a lot of jokes. Like, it's a roast like every day. But they have never said anything about our losses. They've never made fun of us, teased us, or anything. It's when you walk in after Master Worlds, and they're like, "What's up, champ?" And then their whole goal is to, like, right the universe.
Bring you
Like,
down.
yeah. I always say, you like to
Mhm.
go home and tell your wife, I beat a world champion. And you
Yeah.
don't mention that it was a Master 3 woman. Like,
Those
but
details
it
don't
is,
matter.
but it's great. Like, I know everybody at the gym, most people at the gym don't even compete. So
Yeah.
they, especially experience the upper belts, like, they're proud of you. They're your
Mhm.
teammates. They give you a hard time every week on the mats for the purpose for you to do better, to
Yeah.
be better. And so that's what I love. That's one of the main things I love about jujitsu is, like, everybody's just trying to get each other better at it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When you guys went into competitions, because I know with your history of sports prior and competitions, just having that competitive edge already, did it take some time in evolving of your mindset and demeanor going into those days? Because I also have a pretty extensive athletic background, but it was such a shift for me. And I feel like every competition I went to in jiu-jitsu, I was a different Kaylee. And it took me a while to figure out like what is going to work for me, because you go into these tournaments and you look around and everybody has a different system. You get the, jokesters that are like socializing and just acting like this is like just a good old get together. You get some that are completely zen and just sleeping off to the side. And then you get some that are like stone cold, zoned in, whatever. I mean, the list goes on. And so how has your guys' demeanor changed, and like what works for both of you?
Well, one time I was competing and somebody said, you should compete enough that it feels like just another Saturday, that you do it enough that it becomes normal. And when I was a purple belt, I won Master Worlds and then realized that there was this whole ranking thing and I was 16th and I had beat 2 and 3. And so I decided I was going to be ranked number 1. So then, you get ranking by points by competing. So then I, at purple belt, competed at least 1 weekend a month, sometimes 2 or 3 weekends, and competed a lot and developed my system of what worked for me. And I tell, like, anytime I'm coaching people, I tell them, when you get to the venue, find your mat, look at it, see what it looks like, take away any of the surprises, think about what the mat feels like, see where the ref is, see where your coach is going to be, and familiarize yourself with that. And then I bring a jump rope and I skip and count 100 times, and the counting is soothing for me. And then we pummel with each other. I have a big thing that I tell people as far as warming up, that they need to touch someone aggressively before it's time to fight. Because I remember having times when I get on the mat to compete and think, oh, we're touching now. And
Shock
it shouldn't,
factor.
yeah, and that shouldn't be the time to be feeling that. You should have already had someone grab your head and shove you around and be ready to grab somebody, ready to fight. And
Mhm.
I think a lot of people don't warm up like they should for competition and they haven't touched anyone. It's important to be ready for that kind of aggression before you get on the mat. So those are the things that I do
Mhm.
or we do.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I think a lot of visualization, like picturing how I'm visualizing how my match is gonna go, what I want, what the grips are, like, and even every scenario down to, like, making mistakes that will always end in me winning,
Mhm.
and so that I'm not super surprised when if
Yeah.
something goes awry or something goes well. But I remember, I think about halfway through blue belt, in the middle of a tournament, realizing that I'm doing this, I'm making this happen, I'm here present, because
Mhm.
there was a time when it felt like it was like a third person situation, like I'm watching this happen. and
Yeah.
and so, and I competed a lot. And at blue belt, I competed as much as I could because I knew that's the time to do it. And
Sure.
so I think it was very helpful to visualize. Like Carrie visualizes herself as a bulldozer, and she pulls guards. I don't know how that works out,
I'm a
but
guard pulling bulldozer.
it's that thing, like, I tell myself, like, in the like, in my mind, like, "That's my grip.
Mhm.
That's my gi." I say, "That's my gi now," like,
Yeah.
I'm gonna take charge of this. I'm going to, you know, decide how this match is going to go.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I think a lot of times people come in and they haven't gotten sweaty, they haven't touched anybody, they haven't really thought about it, and they don't even know what the mats feel like. And your first time competing, you're definitely not going to feel the aggression. Like, it is something else when someone's coming at you. Even your most aggressive person that's in the training room with you has nothing on somebody at a tournament,
Yeah.
and so it's a different ball game.
Yeah,
But
for sure.
And another thing that I think is important and we do is being grateful.
Mhm.
When you're there, like I'm so grateful for this opportunity. I've done this, I like jujitsu. Jujitsu is fun. Sometimes that's
Yeah.
like just I'll hold on to that. Or, I have friends that'll text me, you like jujitsu, and I'll text them back, jujitsu is fun, and but the being grateful, because
yeah,
there are a
Yeah.
lot of people that can't afford to compete, are too scared to compete, are too injured to compete. And
Yeah.
we can be grateful for this opportunity to be be on the mat. And
Yeah.
you always your thing about how you're expressing love for jujitsu.
Oh yeah, I try to tell people like when I do a competition, it's just a different way to express my love for jujitsu. Like, there's always these different things. You can go to a seminar, you can train at your regular training, you
Mhm.
can do a super fight. Like, these are all different ways to experience jujitsu, and so that's why I think competition it's great for that.
Yeah.
I am not one of those jokesters, but I
Yeah.
do smile. Like I want to smile. It helps me relax. It helps me
Mhm.
remember I like this and I want to be here.
Mhm.
I'm not gonna go over and like chum it up with my I'll talk to you. I'll talk to you at the podium. I'll be your
Yeah.
friend at the podium, but we're not gonna talk before a
Right.
match. But it helps me to relax and to
Yeah.
smile and be and reminded that I like this. I want to do this.
Yeah.
And I don't listen to music at all. I wanna be in the sounds so that when it's time to compete, I'm already used to the sounds, and
Mhm.
it feels to me, I would get used to the music, and then you turn it off, and then now you have to,
Acclimate.
acclimate to the sounds of the tournament, and so
Yeah.
I just wanna be in the sounds the whole time, so when it's time to compete, I've already heard all the noise, heard all the yelling, and it's just part of that day.
Yeah. Yeah. And I love that you guys bring all of this up because I feel like every point that you just said on how to get comfortable within this challenging setting can easily be carried over into literally everything that's challenging in life. And
Oh,
so, like,
yes.
acclimating to your environment, mindfulness techniques, visualization, simple but positive self talk, finding opportunities to smile, being grateful or just sitting in gratitude for a little bit. And so, for those listening, write all of these down and utilize them in your daily lives. Um, okay, let's move on to the nitty gritty and the fun stuff because I really want to save space for you guys to really boast on all the awesome things that you are doing with Unbreakable Jiu Jitsu. So, tell our listeners a little bit about what inspired you to just start Unbreakable Jiu Jitsu first.
Well, my best friend's a black belt, so I think she's pretty great. But we have always shared our goals, like our yearly goals between each other, like family goals, financial goals, spiritual goals, all the things, like jujitsu goals, all of them. Like really love goal setting and sharing with an accountability partner. And in 2024, I wrote I would like to host a women's jujitsu camp in 2025. I wrote it down. And so that was the first step. Told Carrie about it. And I said, I want to do this. And so she said, all right, let's do it. And so we made goals along the way to make it happen. It really was born out of how much we love the women's community in
Mhm.
DFW in the jiu-jitsu community because we've gone to camps before on the East Coast or the West Coast, and we like to do our jiu-jitsu field trips. We go on girls trips and compete and go to seminars and go cross train, and we love to do that, and we have a great community of women here, and we wanted to give something for them to experience what we've been able to experience without having to fly somewhere and pay for a hotel or all the expenses that go along with traveling or finding a sitter for your kids. And
Mhm.
so that's how Unbreakable started.
Well, we wanted something accessible for the ladies in DFW in this area. We're fortunate we were able to go to San Diego for a camp, and there was four of us that went to the camp that we went to, and it was so fun and it was such a great experience, and we wanted that for ladies here. And a
Mhm.
lot of the women in our Genesis Ladies program and a lot of women we know are moms, and moms have a really hard time doing things for themselves to
Mhm.
justify spending money on themselves or taking time from their kids, and having our Unbreakable camp that was, women could just come in for the day and then go back home, and they didn't have to, like she said, get a sitter and be gone for several days. We wanted a camp that more women could come to and have access to.
Yeah. And I know your home base is within the GFW area, but I was shocked the day that I went when you guys did, I don't even remember who initiated it, but raising of hands of who came from where. And so again, for those listening or that are interested in this, we're going to dive into the details about this weekend and everything. But can you give us an idea of all the different states that people ended up traveling from to even attend this? Because that was pretty cool too.
So shout out to Melanie Arameo because she was one of my competitors at Blue Belt and we became friends, and she came and brought her training partner Julie from Florida. And then we had Robin came from the Hamptons in New York. And then we had two ladies come from California. And then we had someone from Oklahoma. And then I think the rest were from Texas.
Yeah, that's amazing. So what has been some of your favorite moments or stories that's come out of this Unbreakable Jiu Jitsu weekend or seminar?
I think just recently, one of the ladies that came competed at Jiu Jitsu World League, and she messaged me and said that she used some of the techniques she learned at camp and that she was able to cheer on all of her new friends that were also competing that she had met at camp. And so that was so great for me to hear that she made connections not only on the mat but just in friendship.
And I've loved the Instagram posts from camp. We had a professional photographer come and take a lot of pictures, and you think about, we've had pictures, professional pictures of us taken in competition and competing. And but for some of these ladies who have never competed and haven't had access to professional pictures, it's so fun to see them and pictures of us having fun at camp. There's competition pictures where I do not look like I'm having fun. And so it is so cool to see them share these pictures from camp and have these pictures to share with their families of them doing jujitsu. And then the women who, some of the more experienced women who are saying going to camp revives their love for jujitsu or help them remember why they started in the first place. And
Mhm.
and women just being encouraged by I mean,
Oh.
one of the ladies, she was just encouraged by the breakout sessions and just the reminder. We had one of our breakout sessions, which it was on Friday, and she talked about, jujitsu is for every body size belongs in the space. And I loved hearing the ladies be encouraged and seeing that there are women of all sizes doing jujitsu and that they all belong there. And
Mhm.
it was just, I just love seeing women so encouraged and positive and excited to go back to their gyms and
Yeah.
train and encourage other ladies in the sport.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It really truly was such a unique weekend. I went in on
Mm.
Saturday, but it was a 2-day, correct? Friday, Saturday.
Mhm.
And that was something that was interesting to me. And I had only been to very small seminars. So if I was in a local gym and they're saying, hey, we're going to have some guy come in that's a black belt from a different place or whatever, just getting a different, style of teaching or coaching, it's going to be $40, maybe an hour or two. Great, and would do that. So I kind of was envisioning something like that. And I'm like, whoa, that's a lot to fill in 2 days. And then after really realizing the extent of what you guys filled each day with, I want you guys to kind of go into the detail on everything that you offered. And maybe that was what you guys were used to, because again, I had never been and still haven't been to something as big as what you guys put on. And so you said you had been to like a seminar in California. Is that right?
Yeah, we went to the Alchemize camp.
Okay.
Was it 2 years ago? 2 years ago. And so it was over 2 days, and it was uh, two seminars a day, 2 2-hour seminars with open mats following, and they had a social hour at the end of the day and things like that. And it was great. We had a good time. We made great connections, met
Yeah.
people, and there were four of us that went, so we had a good time, bonding with our teammates and things like that. But we added, it was very similar except for we added breakout sessions.
Yeah.
So each day we had two breakout sessions. Alia gave one about jujitsu is for everybody. And it was great because she is a super heavy black belt, female black belt, and she encouraged some of the tiniest people, because the things that she said encouraged people that get, pigeonholed for being tiny. You're only good because you're fast and small, and in the same way that people tell people you're only good because you're heavy or you're big. And so the breakout sessions were for competition mindset, for goal setting, for how to build a women's program to get more women training in your gym. And we had some social times too, but I just think the open mats, getting to practice what you learned and visiting and just being in a space with other women and hearing the stories and encouraging one another. It was just great.
Yeah.
We had, 4 2-hour seminars, 2 each day, and had black belts teaching them. I taught one of them, and then Liz Metrovic and Kelsey Carter and Daisy Leongino. And it was really something I loved was that all of the black belts were present for all of the seminars and helping coach. It's a lot. There was 50 ladies. And so that's a lot of ladies for one coach to work with. And so we had all the black belts that were present were helping coach the ladies through the moves. And some of the women had never met a female black belt before that came to camp. And so they got to meet several female black belts and the goal was to have a lot of interactions with these black belts. So
Yeah.
to be able to ask questions and talk to them and hear the stories. Because, I've been training for 10 years and I have stories for days. And some of the other ladies there have been black belts longer. And so I really loved that they were all a part of everything and everyone had access to them.
Yeah. Yeah. I know. And I just kept thinking as I was, taking the whole day in and the whole process and looking at your guys' schedule in advance. And I kept thinking, how the heck? Like, where do you even start? Getting this up and going and have it be as successful as it was for you guys. Mendi, I didn't know that you already had a little bit of dabbling or experience in event planning and coordinating. So I'm sure that came in handy. But I also would imagine that there were some challenges along the way as you guys were prepping for this. So what were some of those challenges when it came to planning this event?
Well, for one, I used to be a race coordinator. So
Okay.
my whole goal was getting as many people there and out of there as fast as possible. And this is like, you guys come and stay and I will entertain you.
Yeah.
So that was a whole different ball game. It's
Okay.
like, everybody wants to run really fast at a race and then leave. And so there may have been more people, 500 people at my race, but they didn't want to stay.
Sure.
So if I have 50 that I got to entertain, that was a lot.
Yeah.
But I think just focusing on the experience that we have high level instructors that are dynamic teachers and understand what it's like to be a woman in the sport, and to have, I think, the strength and the softness combined is just really was our goal. We did have some interesting challenges. They didn't happen until less than 24 hours before they started, before the whole thing started. Everything else seemed pretty smooth, but
Well, initially it was deciding on the space of where to do the camp at.
yeah.
We looked at doing something that was more kind of resorty where everybody would stay there, and we looked at different things and choosing the space to do it in. That was kind of initially, and then Mindy's good at all of these things, and so she did a good job being able to organize things. But then it wasn't hard to find instructors that wanted to teach at our seminars. They were all very excited to support women in jiu-jitsu, all of them that we asked, and you just kind of plug away at it and put it together.
Yeah. And to speak to the instructors, they were incredible. So how did you go about even choosing or asking them and just knowing that they would be, the right fit of what you guys were looking for? Because again, I know you guys, obviously more than any of them. But then the two ladies that spoke on Saturday, very different styles, which I thought was cool because you just are getting two totally different perspectives, which is great. And so I
Mhm.
would imagine that's what Friday brought as well. Did you originally plan on like, can we try and pull from really different aspects, or did that just naturally fall into place?
Well, I was familiar with Kelsey, who taught on Friday. Carrie taught on Friday as well,
Hmm.
and Daisy, and also Liz. I've watched them compete. I've seen their seminars and things online, and how they are super supportive. And Daisy's local, so I
Hmm.
really wanted to support a local female black belt that has great jujitsu. And Kelsey and Liz have a lot of experience, teaching at camps. And Kelsey is like one of the premier female commentators for jujitsu right now, and she's great. And so I kind of like I tell people, hey, if you throw a camp, you just get to ask who you want to be there.
It's like, yeah, we
I
ask the
mean,
people we like.
there's no joke. Like I'm a medium heavy, and she's a light, so there were two medium heavies and two lights.
There we go.
It worked out great. I just remember seeing Liz compete at Pans. I hadn't watched like the adult female black belts, like not masters. And she's my size, and I was
Mhm.
like just super inspired by her jujitsu and the way she carried herself and just like getting to know her and talking to her. And they were all, as soon as I asked, yes, yes, like, yes. And I kept saying, do you want a contract? Do you want to, no, you're already on the calendar.
Mhm.
We're doing it. And I was like, okay. So,
Love it. That's
and they
amazing.
did, they came and they did a great job. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
very
Carrie had
cool.
to come. So I would say, yeah, you
Darn.
just you think if you fangirl over your best friend, you just have a whole camp and like, hey, you're going to teach.
Did you have to have a little bit of a mental shift, Carrie? I mean, were you hyper focused on like the day and just getting everything into place that did you have time to know, okay, like what am I actually going to cover? Or did you feel pretty prepared for both?
Well, I've taught some other seminars before, and I teach jujitsu every day,
Yeah.
multiple times a day, and so I did for the 2 weeks before camp review my lesson plan, kind of. But I was so glad I wasn't the first seminar
Hmm.
because it was initially getting everything going and making sure everything was in place.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have wanted to be thinking about teaching my seminar first. And once the first seminar and we got into it, by the time it was my seminar, it was okay. I teach jujitsu every day and I love teaching jujitsu, and it's, like, I will start out with the nerves at the beginning, but once I settle in, or I call it my jujitsu euphoria. I just forget about everything but coaching jujitsu and being in that moment. And so once I was in it, it wasn't an issue.
Yeah. One last little nugget that I do want to talk about too is you guys had swag bags, which were
Mhm.
amazing. But again, this is another added component of detail that you guys had to put work into. What went into putting those together and securing sponsors and all of that? And I mean, you had the mats were sponsored. Just how did it go
Yeah,
with working with other companies and all that?
you should definitely talk about it. Gameness.
Oh yeah,
I,
gameness. Our gym is a gameness dealer, and so we have a relationship with gameness already. So any of the tournaments that they're at, the owner will come and cheer us on and watch us compete. So we have a relationship with them. And Karen, our professor, just got on the phone and was like, "These ladies need mats, because mats are expensive to buy or rent. Like
Sure.
the rental was going to be like $5,000
Woo!
just to rent them." And it was like, "Oh, that's not doable. Like, we
Yeah.
can't do that." And so Kyle was like, "Whatever you need. I've got 3,600 square foot of mat space. You just have to come pick it up from our warehouse in Oklahoma."
Wow.
So, so we did, and so we are so grateful for gameness. And so when we got on the phone with him about the logistics of the mats, he's like, "Do you need rash guards? Because I can, whatever your mind can think up for a rash guard, I can print it." And
Hmm.
we put it together. And so he did, they did that too. And so we were just so thankful for gameness. And my company was one of the sponsors because, I also, Melville Excavating is a big supporter of jujitsu.
Yes.
And then Olive and Company is a salon. One of our sweet precious white belts. It's her salon, so she's supporting us, and just the women's community is so great. And so Malusos is who gave us the full size self defense spray, which is amazing.
Yep.
And she was like, "What do you need? How much do you need? I'm going to send you a full size product."
Wow.
She just, it's women supporting women. And so we were just so grateful. And
Yeah.
just, all the things I'm familiar with swag bags. So you just cast a wide net and ask
Yeah.
for lots of things.
Yeah.
And it went well.
Yeah,
We
it
were
did.
happy with it. And I loved the little gold bags. I thought they were so pretty.
Yes, I
So-
know. And what a sweet treat, right? When you walk in, it's like, oh, thanks for being here. I was like, wow, this is great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love it. And speaking of wow, was there a moment during the weekend specifically where you both just like paused and thought, wow, okay, this is really happening?
Yeah. I mean, initially when everybody was coming in and getting to know each other. First day, we had an icebreaker where we had to do a jujitsu bingo card, and that was a lot of fun. But just seeing the women fill the space, and then when Kelsey got up to start instructing, and it was just like it's here, like it's happening, and it was like all because we've been preparing for 11 months and watching it just unfold, and it was like we almost forgot not why we were doing, but we almost forgot it was gonna be magical,
Yeah.
It's like you get into the logistics and things like that, and I told people, it was like setting a stage and having all the instruments for an orchestra and waiting for the musicians to come in, and so when all the women came in, they provided the energy and the vibe and the spirit, and all of it was just beautiful, and so it
Yeah.
was like, "Okay."
Yeah.
Yeah, it was great.
Yeah, there was definitely moments where you would just look around and think, this is so wonderful to see all these ladies here. And so, the positivity and the encouragement and just women supporting each other. It was really exciting.
Yeah. And I'm already manifesting right now. I haven't actually solidified this with you guys yet, but what did you learn from hosting your first event and what are you going to carry into the next one? Cough, cough.
Which we're
We already have a date.
Perfect. Okay. I love that.
We're going to look at a menu on Monday.
Awesome.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, that's one of the things before people are like, I can't make it this time, but are you going to have another one? I'm like, yeah, we'll have another one. And in the middle of it, I was like, oh yeah, we're having another one. 'Cause-
well, and so many ladies are like, I'm doing this next year. I can't wait for next year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, February 5th and 6th.
Yeah, February 5th and 6th.
Love it.
2027. So,
So,
yeah.
as you've already done your first one, or is there anything that you guys are hoping to tweak or that you feel like, you'd either do differently or just maybe highlight more?
Well, probably now that we've had the schedule with the number of people, we'll tweak the schedule to be a little more fluid. But I think other than that, I think we're pretty happy with how it went.
It's just
That's awesome.
figuring out the schedule and how to make it flow. It was such a great camp. It is kind of you feel like how do we top that? How do we
Yeah.
but we've had a meeting about it and we're written down our ideas and thoughts and we're
Yeah, and we sent out a survey to the attendees and asked lots of questions. What did you like? What should we change? What content, everything that we did. We asked a lot of questions. Like we want to know because it is the ladies camp. Like
Yeah.
we put it on, but it's for the women that we care about and the women that are in jujitsu that maybe don't have a support system like we do. And
Yeah.
I just want to do it for the ladies because I saw it. I mean, I've seen it before. I've seen it in my life, and I want to see it again.
Yeah.
I want more ladies to experience it, and so yeah. I just want to make it better. But I think it was really great.
It truly was. It truly was. And I think I can speak for everybody that was there. Thank you just for creating a space. I know that it was not easy, but you guys clearly, you did it with joy, and you could definitely tell there was a lot of heart in it. And so I am freaking stoked to see where it goes within the next few years, 5, 10 years. I mean, it's just I really think it's going to skyrocket. And so you've hit the ground running for sure. And so it's amazing. Anything else that you want to share about Unbreakable Jiu Jitsu before we move on?
Okay. So my husband told me that I don't tell people where the name came from and that we should.
Oh, yeah.
So we had him. So when we decided we were going to do this, we were going to do it. So we had a meeting of the minds and we were just brainstorming and we're like, well, we got to have a name. Like, you have to have a name. Like you set the tone and you need a brand, you need people to recognize it and things like that. And so we talked about what jiu-jitsu does for you. Not only in, you want to have an unbreakable grip. You would like your joints to be unbreakable. But what does fighting and competing and all the things that happen in jiu-jitsu, what does it do to your spirit? It makes you unbreakable. You are in discomfort. You're struggling through problems. You're under duress and you become stronger because of it. And so your spirit becomes unbreakable. And then you're suffering alongside your friends and your teammates. You're working, you're struggling hard. And then our bonds become unbreakable.
Yeah.
Like you have a great community that's built on struggle and rising together and building one another up. And so that's where the name came from. And, and I feel like that was like having that name going in, it was like this expectation for people. Like this is what we're about. And so I'm happy with the name.
Yeah.
I'm happy I say like we're writing it all down. We decided on Unbreakable and Carrie wrote it on a piece of paper and I saved it.
I was
And
going to
like,
say, did you save it?
I did. I saved it. And I'm glad I did because it was,
I love that.
Thinking about the unbreakable spirit, there's something about suffering with people and how it draws you closer together when you suffer together. And we suffer on the mats together. And, with this unbreakable bond, it's creating a community for women so that they want to keep coming to jujitsu because their friends are there, because the community, the people that they know support them are there. And even when jujitsu is really hard, and even when your life is really hard, you can come back to train with your friends and suffer with them and grow and be encouraged in it.
Yeah. Yeah. I love it. And so now seminar's done, but that community is not. And so can you explain to our listeners or watchers how they could connect, or if they're in the area, what your guys' weekly schedule looks like and how they could get connected to like classes? And then we'll talk about, where they can find you online and everything. But
Well, Unbreakable is just the weekend event camp. If they wanted to train with us, I'm a Genesis coach. We have Genesis classes. We like visitors. We're always happy to have ladies join us, but we have we have ladies only classes 5 days a week. And then I also coach Genesis River Oaks. I coach the lunch classes, 11:30 classes. So if they went to our Instagrams, it has a detailed schedule on there. If they wanted to train at Genesis with us, where this all started, where our heart for the women community began, is at Genesis. So if they wanted to train with us, it'd be at any of the Genesis locations, because Genesis has River Oaks and Azle and Burleson.
Yep. And all three have their separate Instagrams, right?
Yes.
Yep. Okay.
Yeah. But on our individual Instagrams, it has like the Genesis ladies schedule.
Yeah.
So that has all three locations of when there's ladies classes. So
Perfect. I love it. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, ladies, I always end every main episode with 2 main questions. So the first question is, what is something you wish didn't have as much of a grip on you?
Wow, I wasn't ready for that.
Yeah, something I wish didn't have.
It can be jujitsu related. It can be personal, mental, physical, anything that you feel like has a grip on you more than you wish it did.
That's hard because my motto in life is, and I do it the hand motion of not gonna overthink that. And so I tend to not let things grip me
Yeah.
because I coach co-ed classes every day, and there's all sorts of things where I'm sure like I shouldn't have said that or whatever, or things that I have done, and I walk out of the gym and not gonna overthink that. Or
Yeah.
if I'm, headed to like a stressful meeting, you can see me in the car, not overthinking.
I love that. Yeah.
So,
Oh.
so it's kind of, I'm like, I don't know what I let grip me.
Hey,
I'll
that's
say just
perfect.
because recently, because we finally sat down and watched my matches from Nogi Worlds. I won double gold at brown belt, and I think I need to let go of a little perfectionism because I was hard on myself. I won. I didn't win in the way that I would have liked. And I would never speak to any of my students about their wins or losses like I did to myself. And
Sure.
so I guess I need to let go of some negative self-talk.
Yeah. Yeah. Very
Yeah.
relatable too. Okay, let me
Yeah.
reverse the question now then.
Okay.
What's something you wish you had more of a grip on in your life?
Oh, also a hard question.
Mm-hmm.
Try to be middle of the road. on everything.
Yeah,
Oh,
let things grip me, and I don't like to grip things too tightly.
probably adulthood. I'm 47. I feel like I should probably be better at it now.
I believe the kid at heart, though, sort of thing. I think that's what keeps us alive.
There are plenty of adultier adults than me. I don't need to join the crowd.
Yeah. What do I wish? I'm sorry. This sounds like my we were trying to play Three Truths and a Lie, or
Two truths and
Two
a
Truths and a Lie. I couldn't come up with any lies. I just told a bunch of truths.
unbelievable truth.
Unbelievable truth. So it feels like, oh, you asked me a question and I'm like, nothing. I don't know. I don't grip things too tightly. I don't really want.
I like that though, and I think that's the whole point. And I know this is kind of more like introspective, and kind of you can take it as deep as you want to or not. But I like people's responses with this, and so there's no right or wrong, Carrie. And so I even like how you say I don't want to go one way or the other. I want to stay kind of like even keel. You guys both kind of said that is like I don't want to grip anything too seriously or too hard, or let something else take a hold of me too much. I want to just kind of be, and take it in. And so I think that's very relatable. And so forget about answering it so seriously.
Okay.
Perfect. I love it. I love it.
Uh,
Okay, so for those listening and watching, let's talk about just guest connection. Okay, so how people can find you and all the good things, and we have quite a bit. So, gyms, I know you guys already talked about. So you guys are based under Genesis Jiu Jitsu. There's one in Burleson, River Oaks, and Azle. You can find these ladies and details about their upcoming seminar under Unbreakable / I think it's a / we call it
dash.
thank you.
Gosh.
BJJ.com. And I will be linking all of these in the show notes. So please reference those. Next year's camp is going to be February 5th and 6th, you said?
Yes.
2027.
2027.
Perfect. I'll also put that down. And then on Instagram, you can find them at Unbreakable Jiu Jitsu, at Genesis Jiu Jitsu, and then you can add whatever city you want after that. The Redemption Barbell, is that the CrossFit that you guys?
Yes.
Okay. Can you
Yeah, that's
explain
the
that a little
CrossFit.
bit? It's just a community and gym that you guys go to?
Yeah. Yes. Well, I coach there. I coach
Oh, okay.
CrossFit there.
Nice.
I started in a traditional CrossFit gym in 2014 before I started jiu-jitsu,
Yeah.
and I did it for like a year and a half before I started jujitsu. I feel like it's this being good at suffering and being good at like working hard. And so I got my CrossFit level 1 certificate. And so I coach at Redemption Barbell, which is, functional fitness like
Sure.
CrossFit. It's not affiliated, so it doesn't have the name in it, but it is Redemption Barbell is a functional fitness gym that I coach there, a couple times a week, and then we work out there together and
Awesome.
train there.
Perfect. Perfect. And then I think Mendi, you had wanted to shout out Queens of the Mats, which I appreciate
yeah.
and love. And I got to meet, who is the lady that runs it or started it?
Maria Connors.
Maria. And she was just lovely. A little spitfire, which I appreciated. And so will you guys explain to our listeners? I'm hoping that I can just get her on so we can dive into the whole nitty gritty of it. But will you guys kind of shout her out and explain what she is doing?
So she facilitates women's only open mats just about every weekend in DFW. And so they rotate between different gyms. If you want to host one at your gym, get with Maria at Queens of the Mats for her schedule, what she has open. But it's a great place. Like I just love the ladies that show up there because I can get competitive roles. I can, get whatever role you want. It's just like women coming together, and there's no shortage of black belts and brown belts, like color belts that show up all the way down to really new white belts. And so it's just a great encouragement. And a lot of the ladies that were at camp I've met through those open mats. And so that's one thing that she does. And she also started last year having a super fight series. And it's a great way for women to get their feet wet with competing without all of the things that go along with it. So, a tournament's big and loud, and there's a lot of people there yelling at you, and that's scary. And then if you want to do a super fight, you have to, ask all your friends to pay $50 a person to come watch you. Well, this is like from white belts to black belts can come and get experience. Just one fight, they make matches, and it's a very encouraging environment. And, your friends and family are going to pay $5 or $10 to come in and watch you fight. And there's lots of prizes that are given away, and it's a great time.
And it's just, so the open mats are usually on Sundays, but the Queens of the Mat Super Fight Series is like a Saturday afternoon. And we have both competed in it. The first one, we both competed in it. Now I help judge it, and Mendi has been an MC for it. And so we've done different things to volunteer to support it. And it's a great opportunity for women to get a chance to do a super fight and be in an environment where it is fun and encouraging.
And it's a great place to go watch good jujitsu. Like women's jujitsu is exciting.
Yeah.
So it's
spicy.
If you want to go watch some jujitsu, you don't have to go, to Duncanville at the field house and watch a bunch of jujitsu. You can just go down to Bedford and check it out. So it's great.
I love it. All right, ladies. Anything else the people need to know?
I don't think so.
Perfect. I just want to thank you both. I think from day one, and I know the way that I've joined classes, I, for the first while, didn't even know that you guys were hosting a all women's class. And eventually, Kari, I can tell both of you guys do just such a good job of making any woman feel welcome, whether they go to an all women's class or not. If you guys see somebody in there, you are introducing yourselves, like I said, and just being a kind person. And I think that goes a long ways. And I just am super excited and stoked to see where you guys are going to go with these seminars as you continue to grow just the community and support the female jiu-jitsu practitioners. I think you guys are just doing some really, really great things. And so I can speak for myself, and I think others, that you're really inspirational. And I think you're making a massive impact on the community. So just keep doing what you're doing.
Thanks.
Thanks for listening to The Grip. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to follow or subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. You can also follow along on Instagram @TheGripPod to stay up to date on new episodes. That way you can send over a DM if you've got a question you'd like to hear answered on our roll call series. Now remember, stay sharp, be grounded, and never lose your grip. See you next time.